Call the meeting to order. Everybody stand. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Get the ball rolling here. We will approve some minutes of the board meeting in January work session minutes. We've got them. If we get a motion to approve them.
I make a motion to approve the Manistee Township board meeting minutes from January 17th.
I'll second.
Thank you. We move on to the treasurer's report. We've got copies of it available. I'm accepting, okay. Thank you. Now we need to vote on accepting the minutes. Okay. So.
We have a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Okay.
All in favor?
And it's,
All in favor?
okay, it's not a roll call on that, I know that. So, okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed likewise. Treasurer's report, we've got the copies of it here. And I believe they're available up on the desk there also. Township Planning Commission, January 8th and February 12th, regular meeting. Minutes, public hearing, March 5th, and special meeting minutes are also all available and approved, I believe.
Right, they're approved by the planning commission.
Yes.
Yep.
And we do not act on that, but place them on file. Manistee Township Zoning Appeals Board. I didn't realize there was an appeal, but was there, Karen?
No, just the organizational meeting
Oh,
in
okay.
December.
Yep, okay, thank you. And anybody here with anything to bring before the board at the moment? That's always good to hear. And I'd like to make a comment and thank all of our firemen for coming up to the meeting this evening, and appreciate that. There's a couple here that I really don't know who they are. I don't know if everybody else does. If they'd stand up and introduce themselves. Yeah.
My name is Ethan Kaczynski. I'm a student at Bear Lake Senior. I just graduated the recent MMR medical class, and now I'm a probationary firefighter, and I get my license in a couple of days.
Great, and thank you for being here.
Yep.
My name is Jacob Pete. I'm kind of a new firefighter in Manistee Township. Just got certified last year, and I got my medical license this December. I'm a medical first responder. Looking forward to making a great asset to the fire department many years to come.
Well, thank you also. Appreciate the interest. Okay, and it's good to see a couple old timers in here also. Excuse me, Jim, senior citizens, I shouldn't say old timers.
Oh, yeah.
And Brian's back there, yes. Guys, thank you all. Okay, nobody with anything to bring before the board, so that brings up Mr. Downs, the county commissioner.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dunn, the supervisor. All right, we had our board meeting on the 18th of February. Next week, Tuesday's up and coming meeting for March. It's an evening meeting at 6 o'clock. If anybody would like to attend, not a huge agenda. But anyway, as far as last month went, we still looking for applicants for Central Wellness Board. Secondary consumer is one of the vacancies. There's been advertised in the paper, and we would be appointing it this month, but the closing on the ad was after our meeting. So we have to punt on anybody we appoint until next month. Had a lot of things ongoing with Lansing, with what was going on with PTO and sick time policy changes that have been up in the air and ongoing. We keep swinging at a moving target, but we're getting there and getting it behind us. Manistee Recreation Commission gave us an annual report, nothing riveting there. Opioid, we allocated $38,400 to the Sheriff's Department. And opioid funds, we're going to try to make sure we spend those for county expenses the best we can, as opposed to like we've done with the ARPA funds. The ARPA funds, what we did in the past, we allocated to some nonprofits. We're going to try to keep most of these funds. I want to say we've got about $800,000 coming in, or in the kitty. But anyway, at the moment, last month, we allocated $38,400 to the Sheriff's Department, as mentioned. We also allocated the prosecutor for $5,000 for an intern. So generally the interns don't get paid anything, but try to attract someone here. It'll help offset hopefully the summer expenses. So that's ongoing. I'm sure everybody by now has heard about the incident out at Madison/Kennedy, I think they call it at the moment, with the pistol. They do have a system in place to identify if something appears to be a firearm, I think is how I'm describing that, right? Would you say that's correct, Sam? Yeah. Anyways, it worked. It was not a real firearm, it was plastic, and everything was settled down after that, but again, it's nice to know that the system actually worked. Carmen Cott came before us to introduce herself, not that she needed to, but felt the formality of it. She's our new chamber president and CEO. And Andrew Stafford, EDC, gave us a quick update on what's going on with the economic development throughout the county, which that board I also chair. So I really don't have a heck of a lot. One thing I would add is the airport. We are in transition, as Barry is well aware, and we're trying to figure out a path forward, and there's been an awful lot of time put in trying to figure out exactly how we're going to proceed and what format with fixed-based operations and manager. Ongoing, moving target, but we'll get there. Any questions?
There, not for mine.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well, that's gonna bring up then the fire department. Joe, you the spokesman for that, I believe.
Yeah. So in February, for total activities, we had 3 hours for the lift assist, 12 hours for fire, 29 hours for medical, 7.5 hours for training and meetings, and then officers is put about 80 hours in, you know, with phone calls and getting all this other stuff getting straight, you know, going on. I know community events, staff res, this winter we've kept them washed and cleaned, try to keep the salt off of them so, you know, the chassis and everything isn't getting all rusty. Doing the truck checks, just keeping the station clean as best as possible, you know, cleaning the floor and stuff. We are still actively recruiting, which we did have a new, I forgot to put it in here, we did vote on a new member to bring in front of the board. To bring in front of the board while getting voted on. But I know she didn't get her paperwork in time to do it this time, so I just didn't see it on the agenda, that's all. So anyways, to be a probationary firefighter. And we still have the finest folks for fire and EMS on our department. I can't thank them enough for their time and commitment. Equipment, I did some revenue sharing grants. They're handing to Diane, one of them. Being two separate ones, one's for ice rescue gear, which is, you know, the suit, life jackets, rescue knife, lights, headlamp, helmets, you know, basically just completely getting full fitted. And that's about, I put in for 12,000 for that. It also includes water radios, so that way if it does get in water, you can still communicate, because there might be nights that it could be a snowstorm, and we might not be able to see each other. So this way we can still communicate with the rescuer that's out there. The other one is, I put in for dual gear again, which is your extrication and wildland gear. It does both, services both, and you know, to get 5 more personnel fitted with everything and gear bags to put all the gear in. I put it in for 15,000 for that. And then that should finish all of our members with gear. So we'll have both our gear for structural, and then we'll have our gear for wildland and extrication, vehicle extrication. Training, we trained with the Lucas, AED review, checking ice rescue equipment, driver's training. We're always trying to keep the trucks running and keeping ourselves familiar with ice with our apparatus. So, and that's pretty much all I got.
Did you have to do any ice rescue this winter?
We haven't had it, but they actually put on a county-wide rescue team now, which means there's people from all departments that are willing to do this. If there's like an ice rescue incident here where we had to go to it, and this would be considered ours, we'd be in charge of it, but the county-wide would come and help. So, in case we didn't have enough manpower, the county-wide's coming, and then we might have enough manpower to actually do it. But this winter, we haven't had to do any ice rescue, no. But we've done a lot of training.
I got a question, the turnout gear.
Yeah.
How long is that good for before it becomes obsolete, if you don't?
The NFPA says that we are supposed to change it every 10 years.
What's that?
NFPA states in their standards that we are supposed to replace it every 10 years.
10 years?
So here soon we'll be looking into replacing some gear and some
Is
I'll
it-
do a little bit at a time because.
So I was just gonna ask if it was staggered or if it's all at once.
No, we're gonna try to do, you know, like 5 people a year to try to get it, you know, all up to date.
Okay.
If it's less, then we'll do a little bit less, you know, like 3 people a year, but try to get everybody up to date.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes.
And next is the liquor inspector, and he delivered a note for me. He's unavailable tonight because he's working. And everything for the month of February is up and running, no violations, business as usual, and everybody's in compliance. So that's from our liquor inspector. Thank you. Rick? And I guess that's then gonna bring up township updates.
Did we do zoning?
I'm sorry?
Did we do zoning?
Do what?
Did we do zoning?
Karen.
Karen,
Where did
we did the county and the fire department and the liquor.
Oh, Karen. I'm so sorry. I checked you before I talked to you, okay. No, we didn't, and I apologize.
That's okay.
All right, so that brings care, you could have hollered at me.
No, I would never do that.
Okay.
For the month of January and February, there were no new written complaints. January, there was 1 zoning permit issued, 6 requests for construction permits, and 2 reinspection fees were paid. February, there were no zoning permits issued, and 7 requests for construction permits. The 942 Parkdale Apartments Crossroad project is on hold at this time due to a transfer of property situation for the developer. But the work on the, has begun on the Riley Apartments project. You'll see that. And then the Planning Commission just held a public hearing and special meeting for Starbucks. It was, approved unanimously, and the developer already has their building permit, and the work has begun on that as well.
Thank you.
You're
And again, I
That's okay.
apologize for overlooking that. And then we come down to the township update, and what I had for that is pretty much what Karen had just talked about with Starbucks and the Riley project. And we can drive down the highway and see the excitement or development starting in there. So those are in go. The medical care has been going, and hopefully it'll keep going. I don't know if you have a comment on that, Jeff, or not, but anyhow, that's pretty much the township update for the moment. I got one more thing. Excuse me, Jeff. I spent the township here, we've had for 2 days the board review, and Sharon is back there to answer any questions if we might have, but it went, what I thought, very smoothly. We had a few citizens, I don't know if there were 11 or 12, was there 13, Sharon?
There were 12 petitions, but actually 9 people came in.
Okay. So anyhow, I guess I think that that's good, but I haven't been involved in the board review before, so it's an experience. And thank Sharon and everyone involved in it, even Connie, thank you. So, and where's Heather? I don't see her, but she was a tremendous help to me also. There she is. Okay, thank everyone for that. Brad?
I'm Brad Luczynski, I'm the manager of the Road Commission. I've given you guys each a packet of information. If you open the packet, the first page is a general summary, but I've included 4 maps here for you also. The 4 maps kind of tell us how the road systems work in the state of Michigan. So there are different ways that roads are looked at. The first is the National Functional Classification. Those roads that are listed under the National Functional Classification, as long as they are from the major collector on up, are roads that we can get federal funding to do repairs on. And if it's a minor collector on down into a local, we cannot. The Road Commission's policy is anything that is federally fundable, whether or not we have federal funds for it, we will pay 100% of the repair of those roads. On that map, unfortunately, I'm sorry about the yellow washing of it. There's an issue with the state software we use to deal with this that is giving us all grief right now, so it kind of makes it hard to see. But the only thing that really comes up that's a problem is if you look from on Shadle Road from 22 to 31, that is the only minor collector that you have within your township. There are a few that are major collectors, Dance Road and Lake Shore, and then we have 1 minor arterial, which is East Lake Road, So we have a few of them that will be 100% paid for by the road commission. The second map, when we get into that, that's the state of Michigan certification. That tells us how we get money to actually do the repairs. There are state trunk lines, which we have contracts with the state of Michigan to deal with for their roads. Then we also have major roads, which are in the blue, or primary roads. Those are ones that we pay 70% and the township pays 30% unless they are also a federally fundable road. And then you have your locals, which are 50-50 matches. The locals and the major and the primaries are two separate pots of money that come to us. We have some limited ability to move money back and forth between locals and primaries, but for the most part we try to keep it pretty balanced as to what we're spending. Now with this year's heavy winter, we're about $500,000 over budget in snow removal, which is problematic, and because it hit the entire north region so bad, we've also found out that the state of Michigan is severely lacking on funds. So just so you're aware, because you do have the trunk lines coming through your township, the state has informed us that we will only be allowed to mow the side of the roads on state trunk lines once this year, because they do not have money for a second mow. And we are trying to shave back other funds also, because they are very, very limited. And by the time you deal with the potholes and everything else that we have to deal with on their roads, we're pretty much going to be right at our contractual limit with the state. For our roads, however, we do have some other available funds because we had a project cancel. So we are going to be doing a lot of chip seal this year. One of the things that, as we look at these, when we start looking at the different roads, you have obviously your asphalt roads and you have your non-paved roads. I have a list in the very back, which we'll get to, but the non-paved roads, there's a difference on them, just so you're aware that there are gravel roads and there are earth roads. Gravel roads were actually built as a road. Earth roads were farm trails that just got matted down good enough to be traversable. So there's a little difference between the two as far as how they perform during the winter and into the summer even also. As what my focus is here for you as a board is to start talking to you about asset management. And asset management, the practices that we employ to make sure that the road network overall improves, is you start looking, and as you see this list, when you start looking at your cost per mile per year of life, you start seeing the difference. So for a gravel road, it costs about $10,000 per year per mile of road to maintain them and to have them in good shape. A chip seal will add 7 years of life to a road for $6,500. So that is by far the best thing to do as a township or anybody else when you're talking about asset management, is to keep your roads that are good before they fall apart. Because you suddenly start getting into resurfacing, which right now is about $240,000 a mile, so it costs about $16,000 per year for the life of about 15 years. Reconstruction or a crush and shape is about $400,000 right now, and that you'll get about 20 years, so that's $20,000 a year. And if you want to take a road back up from gravel, or if you have a road that's currently on your gravel list and you want to bring it up, you're at about $1.2 million per mile. So for every quarter of a mile, you're $300,000. So that's a pretty sizable chunk of money for you to put into upgrading roads. As I broke this down, I have given you a list that actually shows every single road within the township. They're broken down into, the first one is your federally fundable roads. So those are ones that we're going to be dealing with. They're all chip seals. because we spent a lot of money in the past on roads and kept them in decent enough shape that we can chip seal them. But we are looking at hitting these in 2027. We have dedicated all of our federal funds to hitting every federally fundable road within the entire county in 27 and 28 with chip seal. Chip seal, like I said, it adds about 7 years of life for a very reasonable cost. About $45,000 a mile is roughly where you're at for it right now. The next one is the only primary that you have that's non-federally fundable, and that is Shadle Road from 22 to 31. And that one should be chip sealed. The asphalt work that you need to have done to prep that is being provided by the road commission as part of our plans to try and improve the entire road network overall. We have found after last year's plans and last year's implementation of this program, we actually saved more off the cost of the chip seal project and the cost of the asphalt than we spent on the asphalt. So basically all the prep work we did, by the time you take it off of there, we ended up having a lower chip seal price that covers the expense of us doing all the prep work. And it reduces your cost as a township to have these chip seals done. And we have planned on doing that for the entire county and making a round, and then hopefully we'll have roads in much better shape at the end of that. The next one that comes in, you've got quite a few roads here that are beyond help. So you've got a resurfacing need, a pending resurfacing need for the county, or for the township, I'm sorry, that has you at your share for local street resurfacing is about $1,175,000. So that's on that list in the summary. It's also shown in that packet. That's a lot, because that also means that we're putting in the same amount of money into that. For your local street chip seals, we have a total cost needed of $770,000 to get all of the ones that are true, for sure, chip seals. That means your share is about $385 and our share is about $385. Now then beyond that, there's what we call our borderline roads. These are roads that right now, most of them should be chip sealable, but if we wait a whole lot longer, they're going to fall off that cliff. Because as you look at the deduct curve of a road, it starts out very slow and it starts coming down, and when it hits a certain level, it's off cliff and it'll drop, and you'll go from a road that's held together to basically total cold patch for the entire section and hot patching in the entire section in very few years. So those are ones that if we can get to them, we'd like to also see you guys be able to do something with us and partner with us. Right now, if everything were salvageable, I have it listed as your local borderline minimum, and that's another $1,770,000. I'm sorry, your total becomes $1,770,000. Your share of those borderline roads is $181,000. But if you wait, your share for those exact same roads goes up to about $965,000. So you're a substantial price increase. So we want to try and avoid that if we can, because it's money that you have to pay extra, it's money that we have to pay extra. The state law only allows us to pay for 50% of any local road project. So when we say, we're going to put in 50%, that's the most the state will allow us. The rest of the funds have to come from some other source, whether it be the township, whether it be a special assessment, or whether it be some other way of funding it. But we cannot spend more than 50% of Act 51 funds on local roads. The big thing with us, like I said, is we're doing all the prep with the chip seal. The idea is your normal life of a road, when you resurface it, you should get about 20 years of life out of it. But if you turn around and chip seal it, and you want to hit it the first time when it's about 2 to 3 years old, because when you roll asphalt, you form micro cracks, and you start having some of the top layer of it that starts breaking up a little bit, and you end up losing a lot of that surface reliability. So the state of Minnesota did a study over the course of 25 years where they took a 25-mile stretch of road and they paved it, and every year, starting with year one, they paved it and then chip sealed it. They chip sealed the next mile 1 year later. They did that for the entire stretch of road. And they found that as long as you hit it before that third year, you can stop the oxidation from getting too far through the surface of the asphalt, and you can actually extend your life right off the bat for that first chip seal to 10 years. Normally the chip seal's every 7 years, so we would be looking to do these, get them chip sealed. 7 years later you come back and chip seal them again. When I was in Ann Arbor, where I started my career doing asset management, we were having very good success by chip sealing regularly. We had roads that lasted 40 years plus without ever having to be resurfaced. So if you can get the money and keep on it, repeating the chip seal cycle about every 7 years, we can really extend the life of those roads, and your costs overall drop drastically. Because when you start talking about a chip seal costing you $6,500 for a year, as opposed to any of the other options, it's by far your best bet. We also have a couple of things happening with the roads. This year, a big project is happening for the first time. We are chip sealing every paved road in Pleasanton Township, Arcadia Township, and Onekama Township. So those three townships, we started just in the northwest corner simply because we were close enough to Scott Brown, who has the paving company that we use the asphalt from. So it was a good place for us to start. We were close enough that if we had issues, we could use his help to get some equipment there to get stuff taken care of. It worked very well, and we're working our way down now. This year, all the chip seal there. Next year, we would be available to start chip sealing in your township. You don't have to do all of it in 1 year. We are going to be doing this major projects every year, probably for at least 7 years to make it around the county. And then the second time around, it'll be a lot easier because there won't be nearly the prep work. We'll be able to just go out and do spot work and then chip seal. So our hope is that we can get some commitments to try and extend the roads in your township and do whatever we can. We are willing to help you. We're willing to sit down and look at specific projects. But right now, obviously, you have a pretty substantial, outstanding burden on it. So my first recommendation is to start with your chip seals, get them done before you really start focusing. Because once a road's bad and failed, it's not going to cost you any more to fix it. It hits a point where, and your cost just doesn't change. It's going to be the same thing no matter what. So a lot of times, while it may not make some of the citizens happy because the road in front of their house stays bad for a few years, it does make your entire network better, which means that you will have more money in future years to keep working on some of those bad roads. So if there are any questions, I'm willing to answer from anybody, board, or even staff, or even township residents here too. I have no issues, whatever. It's up to you guys how much you want to get into this. I could spend an hour easily just talking about this. If you want to look at the gravel road, we haven't really got into the gravel road situation here tonight. I've given you the list just so you can see it. I've also given you the IVR, which is the inventory-based rating system on all your gravel roads. There's really not that many that are bad. You got like half a mile, which is only about $30,000 for us to go in. We split it about 50-50 again, and we could fix those bad spots on your gravel roads. That would get them at least in better shape. They're not going to be perfect. We are looking at using a new product We're gonna be seeing it next week, not next week, but the week after at the County Road Show. And we're gonna have them come up and do a demo, but it's new to us, but they've been out west for a long time. They mix it in with the gravel road, and they let it sit there, get wet, and then they roll it. Charlevoix County, we went up to see them. They did a section of road on a pretty big hill, and they did it 4 years ago. They haven't even had to grade the road once, and there is no dust on a gravel road. In fact, if you can sit down like you did when you were all kids and you'd sit there and hit the brake and the gas at the same time, you will actually squeal your tires on a gravel road. It's that hard. So it's an amazing product. Everything we've seen on it is really good, but it's about $10,000 a mile to add that. We'd split that cost with you, but we could easily, if you start looking at long-term and you start getting into that with your gravel roads and you're doing a project, it's well worth it.
And what'd you say, that's about a 4-year?
They've had it for 4. The company guarantees it for 20 years. So shy of actually digging stuff up, they did a section of I-40 in Utah, or just an entrance to I-40 out in Utah, and they did a gravel section like this, and then they used it as a base for a road, and they double chip sealed the road. Following year they chip sealed it again. Now they just chip seal it every 7 years, and that one's 42 years old. And all it is just built up chip seal on top of this Prozyme, which is what it's called. And you're looking at every bit of 10 to 20 years, assuming you don't have a lot of utility digging. Utilities digging into it can definitely break the surface, and then you do have to address that, but that can still be patched or fixed.
Okay, that's interesting. I'd like to know, did you say that they were gonna do,
They're gonna do, yes, we're gonna do about 2 miles of it this summer. We've got some of it where we have washouts routinely happening on hills. We have some of it where, because of the adjacent to asphalt road, where it goes from the gravel to the asphalt, that gravel always gets chewed up. So we're gonna hit a couple of those, and then we're gonna hit one that just never sees any sunlight. It's trees completely covering it, so it always stays wet. So we're gonna try and do it on that also, so that we can see how it performs. Because those, when it's wet all the time, they don't hold together. They get soupy, and especially in the spring, they're bad. So we're trying to find a few different areas around the county that we're gonna mess around and try and figure out what our best solution is and what it's gonna take for us to get these roads prepped properly.
Do you have a question?
Mm-hmm.
This material you're talking about, is it a liquid that's sprayed on? You grade and then you spray it?
You grade, you stir up the entire road, the top 6 inches of road. You break it up, get it nice and loose. You wet it down to a certain point, and they show us all the skills, and they have somebody come out to do it with us. So they then mix it up, you spread it out, and you wait a little bit, then you roll it. And then after 24 hours, it's pretty hard. So if you don't have it right after the first if you didn't get it rolled right, you're not going to be able to change it after that 24 hours. So it's basically, you go in, and there are times in the year when it's about mid-40s, when they say it does soften a little bit, so you can do some repairs. And that's what they stress, is get it done before it hits 60, because if you ever have 60 in the sun, you'll never touch it. It just will not be usable. You can't break it up. You can't do anything to it shy of scooping it out and getting rid of it. So we're going to be trying it, though, for this year for the first time. So
very interesting, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, where is the road going to be, the 2 miles you're talking about?
Well, one of them is Maiden Road, just up the road from us. It's a gravel section in Onekama Township that routinely washes out. And it started out as a 24-foot wide road. It's now 38 because it's washed out. It's just all gravel. And so we're going to try and get that glued together. There's a hill up off of, in Arcadia Township. There's a hill out in, I believe it's Marilla or Maple Grove. I'm not sure which section of road it is out there. And then we're still trying to put together a couple other areas that we know of that are a problem, and we're gonna take a look at yet this spring.
Thank you very much, Brad. We had a lot of stuff to look
Yeah.
at here.
When you, if you wanna, if you, like I say, if you ever want more detail and you wanna start, if you want help to try and digest this and try and say, okay, this is how we would be best approaching things, I'm more than willing, especially if you're at 10 o'clock in the morning anyway, it's right down the road from me, it's not that hard for me to get here, and I can spend as much time as you guys need. Because that's my thing, is I want to make sure that we keep the costs low as we can. And that's the nice thing, just, which is unheard of in construction, but we had about 7% roughly decrease in chip seal pricing this year. Oil has come down quite a bit, which means our emulsion's cheaper, and now we're picking up stone right off the Manistee dock. They've got the slag that we need. So we actually had a reduction in price, so that's good. That's good for us. It's good for the townships too, because it's going to probably, as long as we keep the oil prices low, it's going to keep us able to do this a lot cheaper. So.
Okay, well, I thank you, and the board is gonna have to get together and decide just what, where, and when.
Sure. Yep. Let me know what help you need, and I'll be glad to come here. And if you want, I don't know if you have a projector or anything, but I can go through some of the maps a little bit and get into some of the details of how we would be approaching things.
Is there a timeline involved with the planning?
We are going to be finishing prep work for this year's chip seal right up till probably the middle of June to the end of June. And then after that, we are looking to hear from townships that want to do work for chip seal next year. And if you're interested in doing any chip seal next year, we want to start immediately after finishing Onekama and Filer, the few roads that Filer had to pick up this year. And then we would be willing to come in anytime after that to start doing prep work for next year's work. And if you, anytime, I mean, it also can come over the next, into the fall, and we can set you up to be prepped in the spring of next year for the same work.
So we basically need to develop our plan by mid-June.
That would be the best, but it doesn't have to be. We can work with you.
Okay.
I mean, as long as I have something that I can put together something by the end of September when I have to turn in my budget, that's my big thing. That's my cutoff pretty much.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly. Do you want, I brought a couple extra copies. Do you want to just?
Just in case.
Okay, I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
Guy's not here.
He's got, I put one over on the
Oh,
desk over
okay.
there, but if you guys, and if you need anything else, let me know.
Great.
thank you very much.
Thank you
No
very
problem.
Appreciate that.
Anytime.
Okay, looking here. Consider Brown Road Township contract for fire and medical protection. Did I say Brown Road? I meant Brown Township, I don't. I've seen it in here. I was looking at it, read it, and how much disappeared on
Here's mine.
it. Okay,
Do you want a motion to enter into the agreement between Manistee Township and Brown Township as we've done in the past for the same dollar amount? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, the prices, should I read this whole thing?
You can.
Effective January 1st, 2025, the Manistee Township Fire Department agrees to respond to fire calls within Brown Township south of the Big Manistee River. The coverage will be maintained for a standby fee of $2,200 payable by January 31st. The fee for the fire calls will be $250 for the first hour and $150 for each additional hour or portion of an hour thereafter. The fee for medical calls will be $150 an hour. Now, do we know, is this increased? Is that what you was asking, Connie?
It's the same as last year.
Okay, okay.
And we're only covering that portion south of the Big Manistee River?
Correct.
Any comments from the department?
No, we've been doing it for a while. Now, Onekama Township covers the north side of the river.
Okay.
The contract just has to have a motion to be approved by the
Right,
board.
And I
right.
make the motion that we enter into this contract with Brown Township.
Thank you. Support to the motion?
No second.
All in favor?
No, that one needs a roll call. I'm sorry.
Okay, I thought we did a roll call when we spent that money.
Well, we do. Go ahead. We'll
Well-
vote it out. Go ahead. You're right.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And that will give us another year with Brown Township. Okay, now. Household hazardous waste reduction.
Right there. You just had it in your hand. Nope, go there. Nope, nope. go
Right
there.
here?
Nope, couple that. Was
The
this
one with
copy?
the red copy
Yeah.
stamp.
Okay. So what is our feelings on that? I guess I would suggest that we certainly do that for the household waste with, we have for the past several years. Is there any comments or suggestions or opinions from the board?
I think this is comparable to what we paid last year.
It is.
And so I would make a motion that we enter into paying $1,623.15 for all township residents, which was 3,607 of them, for the Saturday, August 16th hazardous waste
And I'll second
program.
it.
Okay, motion's been made and supported. This, I guess we will do a roll call, is that right?
That would be fine.
We're spending money.
Mr. Madden,
Aye. Yes.
Ms. Jankowitz,
Yes.
Taylor is yes, Mr. Dawes,
Yes?
Yeah, here's there. I'll take it. You good? Okay, all right, we're fine. Thank you.
here, I've got the request from the veterans for flags for cemeteries for Memorial Day. And we've done that for many years, I don't know exactly how many. And I personally believe it's a very nice thing, good thing. And we gotta decide what we're gonna do on that board, so we can move on it if we're ready.
Our contribution last year was 700.
I'm sorry?
It says our past contribution was 700?
That is correct.
Okay.
I make a motion to give the United Veterans Council $700 as we did last year for the flags for the vets cemeteries.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and supported to give $700 to the Veterans Council for flags this year. That should be a roll call too, I believe.
Ms. Jenkins?
Yes.
Taylor is yes. Mr. Madden?
Yes?
And Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, a resolution for Riley Apartment Complex, a resolution letter of support for the project was requested by the, am I saying that right? I believe that's right, Karen?
It's a letter of
Yes,
support.
yes. Riley Apartments has requested the board write a letter of support to be sent to the State Land Bank Authority to assist them with an early lien release. So we reached out to our attorney and he supplied us with this letter of support for the township.
And again, I believe that that's something that we certainly want to do, and
I would certainly think that we would want to do.
yes,
Yeah.
and we need a motion.
We just need a motion to approve sending a letter of support on behalf of the board to Mr. Rohrback.
Right.
I'll also move.
I'm sorry?
I'll move on that, what you just said.
So you need
And we send a letter of support to the Riley project.
You'll make the motion for this letter of support?
In support?
I believe Connie supported.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay, the motion,
Can you vote?
right,
Okay.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carried, and we can forward that on to the proper report. Another consideration here is the sick leave policy, which is something that's new for us this year.
It is. But I wonder if I might interrupt for just a moment.
Certainly.
Joe had mentioned that there was the possibility of a new cadet for the fire department. And most of the fire department members are still here.
Okay.
The gal did turn in her information
Okay,
everything that was needed. And it would take a vote from the board in order to accept her into the fire department.
okay.
And some of them may be waiting for that to happen.
Oh,
No? Okay.
well, as long as we're this far with it, let's carry on. And, excuse me, the board can consider the candidate right now and vote on the acceptance.
Yeah. and Joe had
Well,
mentioned
as a
that the fire
probationary
department had
firefighter.
already voted to
Okay, but,
accept her.
right, and the board does not the township board also have to accept?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, they do. So I will make the motion to accept Isabella Circa into the Manistee Township Fire Department as a probationary?
Yeah, probationary
As a
firefighter.
probation, is she a cadet or just a probationary fire?
Probationary because she's actually 18, so,
She is actually certified.
yeah. Well, she's not certified, she's above the age of 18, so she's.
So she's just probationary, as a probationary member.
Okay.
Okay.
all right, the motion's in order.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made, and supported. We don't need a roll call on that, but all in
No, we
favor
just-
say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried.
Motion's carried. I apologize for interrupting.
No
I wasn't
problem
sure they
whatsoever. Okay. We still got sick leave to take care of here yet.
This is the sick leave.
I don't know what I did to my paperwork, but I sure messed it up.
This is sick leave for.
I don't know. The sick leave is because the
Everything is
state
always
is requiring.
so neat
Yeah.
and orderly until I get a
That was a
hold
minimum.
of it.
Yeah, but we're back there. I don't know.
It could be
Like more than 10.
Well, you guys are a volunteer, yeah.
What do you for us?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
How come I can't?
Right there. No,
Not that, that's our flag.
That one right there.
right there.
Okay. In this, I guess we've all read it. I hate to read the whole thing again.
No, but
Okay.
I make a motion that we adopt this fleet policy because
But before we adopt the policy, there's one thing that we need to know in the policy.
don't we have to make the motion so then we can talk about it?
Sure.
I think that's what we have to. So I made the motion, somebody has to second it, and then we'll have discussion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion to discuss the sick leave policy has been made and supported. All in favor?
No, we gotta have discussion.
Okay. I'll catch on to this game here in a while.
And then Diane will give us the discussion.
Okay.
I don't know that I'll give you the discussion, but I will open you that before it can be adopted, the board does need to decide the hour increment that sick leave can be used in. For instance, can an employee use sick leave an hour at a time for payroll purposes? 4 hours at a time? 8 hours at a time? What is your thoughts?
Well, I guess there should be a limit. I don't know what the limit should
Well, they could turn in 8 hours at a time, but
be. Right.
if the minimum was 1, and because that's all you're talking about is a minimum.
Okay.
If they want to use 15 hours, because 15 hours qualified, that's fine. The minimum is that they can't turn in a slip for a half an hour
Okay,
or 3/4 of an hour.
okay,
It has to be a minimum of 1 hour.
okay.
They can turn in 20, they could turn in however many they have available. But
So the question becomes then for clerical work, if we turned in one for every 4 or 5 hours would be much better than one for 1 hour, is this?
it's only a matter of how they can use the sick leave.
I would think you would want to have 1 hour, and my reason of saying that is a minimum of 1 hour, because if it's to be used to go to the doctor or whatever that you need to do, you might not need all, 8 hours, so should I not be able to use my sick leave to go to the doctor?
Right.
When the policies say that.
Is this a new policy?
Brand new. Brand new,
And this is the first time we're getting it?
yes.
I'd like a little time to read it over here.
Do we have to move on that? We should move on that.
Our attorney says we need to adopt a policy before the 23rd of March.
Oh,
I think we'll probably,
I don't know if you have
And
to wait till next
and
month.
it was written by our attorney, so,
okay, yeah,
Okay,
okay.
but
so I think a minimum of 1 hour is good too.
Okay, and that's what you had suggested, right, Connie?
It is, and I say that because otherwise I would have to ask for 4 hours off to do a 1 hour appointment,
Right.
because the minimum was 4, so I'd be taking 4 instead of 1.
Okay. So, we've got a motion by somebody in support.
Yeah, I did the motion.
And
Gary
you supported Gary.
Just so we could have this discussion.
Okay.
Now we have to decide if we've discussed enough and we want to vote, or if there's more to discuss.
so is the conclusion it should be 1 hour increments?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I don't have any problem with that.
Okay.
And that is an easy way to deal with it within our system.
Yeah, right now it's going to be more difficult than it's already going to be. but-
Okay, a motion has been made and supported to adopt the sick leave policy with a 1 hour minimum, is that right?
Minimum use, yes.
I don't think we need a roll call on that either. So, all in favor? Aye. And motion carried, and we will adopt the sick leave policy.
Yes. Okay.
We then come to grant applications for wildland dual gear. And that's going to be resolution 2025-01.
No. No.
Okay,
Wildland, if adopted, will become 05.
05. Okay.
And the motion to accept the resolution 2025 for approving the grant submission of the fire department for the wildlife dual gear.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and supported to adopt the grant application for wildlife dual gear.
The amount is $15,000.
Okay. Request is for $15,000.
Correct.
The motion's been made, supported, and we'll vote on
And it takes a roll call vote.
it. Okay.
Taylor is yes on this one. Mr. Madden,
Yes.
Ms. Jankowitz?
Yes.
And Mr. Downs?
Yes. Okay, the next one is grant application for ice rescue gear. And I know then that would be 06,
Yes, it will be 06.
and any discussion on it, and that's for $12,000.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2025-06, approving grant application for the ice water rescue equipment.
Okay,
A second.
Thank you.
motion's been made and supported for the grant application for ice rescue gear. Roll call on this one also then.
Mr. Madden,
Yes.
Ms. Jankowitz?
Yes.
Taylor is yes. Mr. Downs?
Yes. Okay, and then I believe our last one was for a grant application for wage reimbursement. And that is for $5,220. And a motion is in order for that, and that would be 2507.
That would be correct.
Make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2025-07 for the approval of grant submission for fire department 23 and 24 wage reimbursement cost.
Motion's been made
I'll second.
and supported for the wage reimbursement grant. Roll call vote for it.
Ms. Jankowitz?
Yes.
Taylor is yes. Mr. Madden?
Yes.
And Mr. Downs?
Yes. That leaves us then with, we'll need a motion to pay the bills as provided for the incoming month.
I'll move that we pay the bills as provided and the income bills as received.
I second that.
Motion's been made in order to pay the bills for the month of February. Yeah, that's right. Even if it is March. Okay, then, reminders.
We have to vote
Gotta
on
vote on
paying
it.
bills.
Skip that again. Okay. Too much flashing here. Make a motion to allow the bills paid
We have the motion, Mr. Madden
and
made the
support,
motion.
we've got it,
and
we've
we have
got
the support.
to vote on it.
We just have to vote.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for your help. All right. Reminders for the month of Manistee County MTA meeting will meet March 26th at Marilla Township. Manistee Township Zoning Board of Appeals would meet Tuesday, April 1st, if there is a meeting. Manistee Township Planning Commission will meet Wednesday, April 9th at the Township Hall. And the next regular meeting of the Manistee Township Board will be Friday, April 11th at 10 a.m. right here. Motion to adjourn.
No, only public comment, public comment, public comment.
Okay. Any public comment? Okay. Now we'll have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll support.
Motion's been made and supported to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you for tolerating my clumsiness, but it'll get better.
Oh, yeah.
We can only hope.